I use a Tascam DR40 audio recorder to record podcast interviews. I bought it from Amazon.com in 2014 to replace the Zoom H4 I'd been using for the previous 6 years or so. As far as I can determine, the DR40 was released in 2012, though doubtless much of the code embedded in the device was carried over from previous models. When I format an SD card with my DR40, the device creates 3 folders on the card. They are Music, Utilities, and Video. Note that Music and Utilities are in all caps, but only the V in Video is capitalized. Over the years, I have recorded hundreds of interviews and hundreds of readings of written text and stream of consciousness monologues. On rare occasions, I have recorded a live musical performance, but most of the audio files in the Music folder of the many HDSC memory cards I've accumulated over the years are non-musical in nature. Why is the folder these files reside in called Music rather than Audio? My guess is that because in 2012, or in whatever year the embedded code in this device was written, the designers had no idea how many people would be using digital audio recorders for the purposes of citizen journalism. They assumed that only musicians or lovers of live music would have any use for such a device. Why label a folder Audio when obviously people would be storing recorded music in that folder? What else might people want to record? Birdsong? That's arguably still music. The topics that form the basis for these videos and for my podcasting efforts, which started in 2006 and continue to the present, include technology, energy, social cohesion and organization, and the mimetic programming which undergirds that social cohesion and organization. Before I started podcasting, I explored these topics collaboratively with a far-flung group of my intellectual peers using Usenet newsgroups, listservs, and LiveJournal. When I started podcasting, I wasn't taking up an interest I'd never explored before. I merely shifted my existing program of exploration from a peer-to-peer, text-based approach to a one-to-many, vocal performance-based one. So you could say that I've been using digital audio recorders and audio recording software for over a decade now to capture and improve upon a sort of live performance. In that sense, I'm using these tools for the purpose for which they were originally created. But in a more important sense, my use of this technology is not what its designers had in mind when they created it and offered it up for sale. In 1943, James Watson, the president of IBM, remarked, "I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers." But clearly, he didn't envision the uses to which non-specialists would end up putting computing technology. Though to be fair, at the time he wasn't making a prediction about the 21st century. These days, Watson's remark circulates online as a famously oblivious prediction. But Watson wasn't making a prediction. He was articulating his assessment of the world's demand for his company's products in 1943. At the time, vacuum tube-based computers were still in their early days. The famous computers of that period, the ones that you may have heard of, the ones used to break the Nazis' codes in World War II, hadn't even been built yet. The development of the integrated circuits that would bring computing into the price range of middle-class Americans and Europeans still lay several decades in the future. In 1943, computers had enormous footprints, power requirements, and price tags. There were very few players who had any serious need for vacuum tube-based computers and the ability to pay for and operate them. 5 may have been a pretty good guess. So what's my point here? My point is that we are discussing the world in which we live. We are dissecting the media that we love, media which would have gone largely unremarked upon by the general public and even by people who loved it. You know, before the advent of the VCR, it was really difficult to rewatch your favorite show, much less, examine it frame by frame and make micro dissections of its timing and its technique, as well as its writing and its performance. I mean, we have the ability to examine and collaboratively, micromanage the content, the media environment in which we live our lives. And I think even just a few years ago, like, for example, when somebody was writing the code that decided what to call the folders on the HDSC card in my audio recorder, they had no clue that I would be using this device to record interviews or to record monologues or to record the soundtrack to YouTube videos. All they had in mind was recording music. And I am so happy that so many people, myself included, are making use of these tools in ways that they were just never intended for. I think that's great. I know it is threatening. It is threatening to a lot of powerful players, and that too is a good thing. And I think what we're seeing right now, particularly in social media, is the collaborative attempt by the big players to shut down any sort of critical analysis of their agenda. It won't work. At least, I don't think it will. Although the big players, they have a lot of talent, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of technical expertise at their disposal, and they're going to do their damnedest to preserve their positions of power and privilege. And it's up to all of us to do our damnedest to make sure that they fail in that attempt. All right. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you again tomorrow.